So next we'll see some of the examples of ethics in public relations. So teacher and student. It is one of the examples of ethics in public relations. Now initially when a teacher starts teaching a student, it is a public relationship. But this is a private relationship, public relationship. Now a little deviation from this, I'll say that how ethics in private relationship does not remain confined to private relationship. Usually what happens is it cannot be kept in watertight compartments, the private relationship and public relationship. For example, take the example of a district collector and citizens. Initially it is public, but as time passes it becomes private. You become the district collector, you stay for some years and you keep interacting with the people, and the people come and tell you about their concerns. So as time passes it becomes kind of a private relationship, because you develop some kind of bonding with these people. You know you are the person responsible for their welfare. You are like a father figure to them and you have to take care of them. They are your people, they are your family members. So initially it starts with like a public relationship, and later on it has an element of private relationship in itself. Another example, a couple gets married and later on they get divorced maybe, right? So initially when they get married it is a private relationship, right? But later on there is a lot of conflict, misunderstanding, and this leads to their divorce. So then this becomes a public relationship. You take your relationship to the court, you file a case and you get separated. Now this becomes a public relationship. So almost all relationships, they start at one end and later on as time passes by, they also incorporate an element of the other relationship. Same in the context of teacher and student, it starts off here as a public relationship. You are the teacher, you teach maths, that's your job, you teach for 1 hour, you go home. Later on as time passes by, you do not remain a teacher alone. You become a father or a mother figure. You start treating these children as your own children. You start treating them like your own kids. You become a father or a mother figure. So the teacher-student relationship, which started as a public relationship, later on gets converted into a private relationship to some extent. It will remain public relationship, but an element of private relationship gets included in that. Same civil servant and citizen. Like I explained here, the DC relationship with citizen initially starts off as a public relation. But the more and more you interact with the people, know about their concerns, try to do good for them, you start developing empathy and compassion. And as time passes by, you start increasing the level of responsibility, you try to do more and more good, you start treating the people of your district as your own family members. You can't tolerate their pain and suffering. You start becoming a father or a mother figure. So that's when this public relationship starts adding an element of private relationship into it. Same is the case with doctor-patient. It starts off as a public relationship, but sometimes what happens is you have a family doctor and every time you fall sick, you run to that same doctor because you are psychologically thinking that only if I go to that doctor, I'll become fine in no time. So that's how you could have chosen a different doctor also, but you choose the same doctor because you have that faith in your mind that you will become well when you go to that doctor. So that relationship which starts as a public relationship now has an element of private relation also in it. The doctor keeps treating you for a long time. He or she becomes like a mother or a father. Lawyer-client, similar way. Any case will go on for a long time, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. And as a client, you keep meeting your lawyer very frequently. Every time the case is put up, every time the case is to be heard, you will go and meet the lawyer. So when you meet multiple times, the bond does not remain public. It also starts incorporating an element of private. The lawyer starts feeling compassionate and empathetic about you. He or she wants to ensure justice to you as soon as possible because he is pained by your suffering. So that means which started as a public thing has now an element of bonding, special care for you. Now, ethics in public relationship has an element of role and responsibility. Suppose you are a celebrity. Example, Amitabh Bachchan. You have been given a responsibility of running a polio campaign. You have now taken up this job of making India polio free. For that, you have to run a campaign. You have to appeal to the people because you are a social influencer. You can persuade the people, you can convince the people to get their children polio vaccinated. And this way, you have taken up a responsibility. You have assumed the responsibility. Right? So, ethics in public relationships is usually associated with some roles and responsibilities. You take up any example, suppose district collector. Every day you listen to so many concerns. You have assumed the responsibility that you have to take care of these many people in your district. You have to solve those problems in a fast-track manner. You cannot see these people suffering. So these are roles and responsibilities. Moving forward, colleagues in the professional world, the colleagues that you have in the company, they are all in a public relationship. Business entities, any company and consumer relationship is what? It starts as a public relation and later moves towards private relation. Why? Because for any of your need, you go back to the same company. Suppose you plan a yearly holiday every year. So whenever you go out for the holiday, you book the same hotel. So over a period of 5 years, the hotel people start knowing you and you start knowing the hotel people. So whatever started as a public thing has now an element of love, affection, bond attached to it. Follow the law of the land. Like I said that public relationship, I used the example of legislative, executive and judiciary. So they have to follow the law of the land. There should be separation between the three organs of the government. Right? Respect for social values like respect for women. Example, sexual harassment of women at workplace. Right? So these are the reasons to guide public relation. You have some guidelines and provisions in place so that there is a top-down mechanism to keep the public relations under control. These are not required in private relations because the two people, they have so much love, affection, intimacy and care between themselves that there is no need of some external provisions and guidelines. What happens in public relations? It is guided by self-interest. It is guided by profit motives. So we have to ensure some guidelines. There is no concept of selflessness here. It is only selfishness, profit motives, what I'll gain out of it, those sort of things. So to ensure conflict-free public relation, you have to have certain guidelines. So that is the reason we have such provisions. We have the Constitution. We have multiple other laws which will guide public relations. And if those are breached, legal action will be taken. Professional code of conduct. So there are some rules and regulations that each company will have. Suppose Tata Consultancy, they have a code of conduct that any employee has to work for 2 years, and if they don't, then they have to pay a bond amount. So these are some codes of conduct. Otherwise, what will happen? You work for say 3 to 4 months and the company spends say 5 lakhs on you for training. So this will go waste, right? If you just work for 3 to 4 months and then you switch to some other company, the company's 5 lakh will be wasted. So that's the reason some code of conduct has to be there. Impact of our actions on others, positive or negative. In public relationships, we have to work very cautiously and we have to ensure that any action or any decision that we make should not impact the other persons or other people adversely. Any decision that I take, for example, as a district collector, we had discussed about the displacement problem, the development project. You remember the case study that we discussed? It was about laying a railway line, and because of that, the forest will be cut down and the entire village has to be displaced. Now, whatever actions that we take, whatever decisions that we take, we have to understand that the adverse effects on the people should be minimized. If we are deciding to implement the developmental project, we also have to keep in mind how to ensure the displacement is to be done in a very proper manner. We should not hurt the sentiments of the villagers. We have to talk to them, understand their concerns, explain to them how we are planning to solve their concerns, and only then, if they are satisfied with our proposal, then only we'll displace them. Moving forward, celebrity, role model, your opinion and action matters. That's the reason we usually engage celebrities for campaigns. Example, Vidya Balan. For what? Open Defecation Free India. Swachh Bharat Mission. So, this is a role and responsibility imposed on the celebrity, saying that if you appeal to the people, because you are a social influencer, you will be able to persuade the people easily and they'll implement whatever you say. This is the responsibility we are giving to the celebrities. Empathy and compassion must be there in public relations. For example, Baba Amte, he has done a lot of work for leprosy patients to take care of them. Another example can be Mother Teresa. She came up with the missionaries of charity for taking care of the leprosy patients. Tolerance is again one very important thing, because many a times we will encounter a lot of people whose views, culture, tradition, everything is different from ours, right? So tolerance is very important. Otherwise, we will be at conflict with the colleagues, with the other people that we meet. Commitment will bring positive changes. For example, what can be a good example? Armstrong Palme. He had so much commitment to duty that despite all odds, all adverse situations, he did not have enough funds, but still he went ahead and constructed the People's Road through innovative mechanisms like crowdfunding. Here are some of the examples of high commitment. Baba Amte. Sudha Murthy, she is a social worker and she has contributed a lot on literature also. So SM Thimakka, she has done a lot of good work in the field of environment. She has planted a lot of trees to protect nature and ensure afforestation. Is between professional colleagues too. The relationship between business houses, business entities and consumers is also initially public, but later on it has an element of private also. So now we'll discuss about the 7 principles of public life, or in other words, we'll discuss about some values which were recommended by the Nolan Committee and which are considered the fundamental or core values for any civil servant. So these are some values that can never be compromised in the entire tenure of civil service. Let's see what are these. Committee on Standards in Public Life or Nolan Committee. This particular committee suggested 7 values that are very fundamental for the civil servants, and at no condition, under no circumstances, these values can be compromised. It was given in 1995, Government of UK, and it was meant for politicians and civil servants. So these 7 values can be compressed as into an acronym HOLO IAS. So just you can remember this word HOLO IAS and you will be able to recall all the values, right? So these values are meant for politicians and civil servants when it was introduced in UK by the Nolan Committee. You should understand and try to register these 2-3 details. Nolan Committee recommendations in 1995 in the UK for politicians and civil servants. So what are these? Honesty, objectivity, leadership, openness, integrity, accountability, and selflessness. I repeat, H for honesty, objectivity, leadership, openness, integrity, accountability, and selflessness. We'll move forward. We'll take one by one and briefly understand in very simple words what they mean. First is selflessness. That means if you are a civil servant, you have to work only in the public interest. You should not think that the public resources that you are holding, they are your own resources. You should not think that you can use these resources to enrich yourself, to enrich your pockets. No. You should think that you are only the trustee. You are only the caretaker of those resources on behalf of the people. You are holding these resources as a civil servant, and you will use these public resources for the welfare of these common people. So selflessness means that you will work not in self-interest but for public welfare. Not in self-interest but for public welfare. Public welfare will be your topmost priority and you are only the trustee of public resources. Examples can be Baba Amte or Gandhiji, Mother Teresa, right? So Baba Amte, he worked a lot for the leprosy patients. Gandhiji could have made a career out of law, could become a barrister there, but he chose to return to India and fight this entire freedom struggle, right? So that is a very good example of selflessness. Mother Teresa, she created the missionaries of charity to take care of the leprosy patients. Integrity. Integrity means what are you doing when no one is watching you? It means you are sticking to the path of righteousness even when no one is watching you. You are working under the influence of voice of conscience. It is your only witness and you are taking the path of righteousness even when there is no one to watch you. No financial or other obligations. Influence should not be used for personal benefits. Even if no one is watching you, you are not supposed to take that bag of money. You are not supposed to take bribes. Even if the other person is promising you that this thing will be confidential and secret and it will not be exposed in the media. Example, Dr. Kalam. When he was the president and he was staying in the president's estate, his family members had come to visit him. You know what he did? The expenses on his family members, he spent it from his own pocket and not the official expenses. So he maintained a separate book of expenses for his personal expenditure. So this is the level of integrity. He is the president of India and no one could have stopped him at that point of time. But still, he has exhibited the highest levels of integrity. Objectivity. You should not take any arbitrary decisions. you should not take any ad hoc decisions based on personal bias. Instead, you should take decisions based on facts, evidences, and merit. Suppose you are the district collector or maybe the subdivisional magistrate, and there is some project that has to take place. Suppose you have to fix lights in the major areas, street lights, and you have to take out a tender. There is a high possibility that you allocate the contract or the project to someone you know, even if they don't deserve it, even if they don't have merit in the proposal. But that is not what is objectivity. If you are awarding it to someone who is known, it means you are taking a decision based on personal bias, personal interest. Rather than that, when you are taking decisions based on merit, based on objective parameters, that means you are objective in nature. You are sidelining any personal biases and you are taking a decision merely based on merit. Moving on, openness. You have to disclose whatever decisions you have taken. You have to disclose where the public resources are going into, how you are planning to channelize the resources for the different developmental projects. All of these you have to share with the common people. Disclose the decisions or logic behind the decision and restrict information only in public interest. If you are hiding some information, it should be only because of public interest. You should not hide information because you are doing something fishy. You are doing something wrong. So you are allowed to hide information only if that is in public interest. Next is accountability. Accountability means you are taking decisions and you know that you can be open to scrutiny. You should allow others to examine you. You should allow others to scrutinize you if anything goes wrong. You have to explain or justify your actions and decisions. Justify or explain your actions and decisions. Okay, you are open to scrutiny. That means you are not doing anything wrong. Example, suppose a bridge collapses and you had awarded the contract to a company based on merit. That means you know that you are right. There is nothing wrong in awarding the contract. You had awarded the contract purely based on merit to a particular company. The company comes, he builds the bridge, and after some days, the bridge collapses. There is a huge hue and cry, and people are saying that there is something fishy. You have engaged in corruption. You have given the contract to someone based on personal bias, and that particular company, to cut the cost, the quality of material used was not good. So it's a huge scam that people are talking about. But you are trying to explain your thought process. You have explained how you took the decisions. And you also tell them that you have awarded the contract based on merit. And there is no personal bias, no personal interest involved. You are open to scrutiny and examination. So that is what is accountability. Next is honesty. Conflict of interests, if any, you should declare, and there should be public interest. So conflict of interest part, we'll discuss about it in a while. So honesty means openness. Honesty means truthfulness. You have to declare anything and everything. You have to declare your assets. You have to declare the assets of your spouse. You have to declare voluntarily any conflict of interest, and all of it in public interest. Example, again we'll go back to the Dr. Kalam's example, wherein he maintained a separate book of expenses for personal expenditure. So ideally that should be the case. Most of the times what we see, civil servants, they use official vehicles for personal use. They use those cars to drop the kids to school. Again, they use their cars to drop their partner to their workplace, which is not at all desirable. So you are mixing the two things, the two spheres, your personal sphere and your official sphere. That means you are misusing your official resources for personal gains. This is what we call corruption. This means you are dishonest. Suppose you are using the official vehicle for personal use by paying an amount decided by the government. There are rules, there are provisions made by the government that you can use your official vehicle for personal use by paying an amount. So if you are doing that, then you are honest. But most people do not do that. Leadership. Promote and support these principles by leadership and setting examples. Leadership means you don't criticize others because they are not acting as moral change or moral change agents. You yourself become the leader. You yourself start by practicing what you are preaching. You yourself do such things that you expect others to do. Suppose during the pandemic times, you expect others to become change agents and help the migrant people get some food, help the migrant people go to their native by arranging some transportation. So why not do that thing yourself? So when you start doing those things yourself, you start helping the migrants getting some food, you are distributing food packets to the migrants yourself, you are trying to arrange some transportation mechanism for the migrants to go back to their natives, then that is leadership. What example do you recall? Sonu Sood, right? Let's move on. Now we'll discuss about conflict of interest. So a civil servant usually works in a multi-dimensional fashion. He or she has a lot of tasks at hand, and most often these tasks are interrelated to one another. And this creates a situation of conflict of interest. Now, what is conflict of interest? Conflict of interest is a situation wherein your personal interest or your private interest goes and interferes with some task in the public sphere. I'll explain you by taking an example. Suppose you are the SDM of a subdivision and you have to give a contract of road construction. You have to send out a contract or a tender for that, and multiple parties will participate in that tender. And based on merit, you will have to take a decision whom to award that contract of road construction. Now, the complication is that you have a younger sibling who works in a road construction company. Now, you will have a natural tendency, a personal bias to award this project to this particular company. This way, your younger sibling will benefit and that entire company will benefit, right? But the larger question is, will the people of this subdivision benefit or not? Have you really taken this decision based on merit, or has it an element of personal bias? So here what is happening, a personal interest is interfering with your public welfare. Here what are the things at stake? One, you are not deciding based on merit. There is personal bias in this decision. The road that will be constructed might not be good enough. Who will suffer? The people. So these are some of the things you have to understand in conflict of interest. I'll summarize very quickly. Conflict of interest is a situation where your personal interest or a private interest goes and interferes with a task in the public sphere. Take an example. Suppose you are the district collector or the SDM of a subdivision and you have to send out a tender for a road construction project. Coincidentally, you have a younger sibling who works in the road construction company. Now, as an SDM, you might have this personal bias to award this contract to the younger sibling's company. In that way, who will benefit? Your younger sibling, the road construction company in which the younger sibling is working. Who is suffering? This decision is not based on merit. It might be having some personal bias. Third, the road that is being constructed by this random road construction company, not based on merit, might not be using good quality materials. The quality of the road might not be good. And who will suffer? The people of this region will suffer. So this is an example of conflict of interest. Moving forward, an individual has multiple interests or loyalties and duties. Here, an SDM is also a sibling. An SDM is also a public servant. And as a public servant, you have multiple tasks at hand. So because of this multiple dimensional nature of tasks that you do, and each one of it is interlinked, what happens is there arises a conflict of interest situation. Now, under such a condition, your personal interest interferes with your official space. When these interests or loyalties compete with each other, it becomes difficult to take objective decisions. Like in the case of road construction, you have taken a decision based on personal interest, personal bias. You did not see whether that company has got that merit or not. It fits into the requirements or not. You have awarded the contract just because it is the company of your younger sibling. So this sort of competition between your personal interests and official interests or public interests is what is conflict of interest. Some more examples we'll discuss. This we have already discussed. Public servant gives out a tender of anything, maybe road construction, maybe street lights, it may be anything. Other two examples are judge. When you are the judge and the accused is a family member, you are listening to that case and you will have to pass a verdict. Will you be going by the arguments of the case, merits of the case? The answer is no. Definitely you will have a personal bias. You are a judge. At the same time, you are also a father or mother or brother or sister, right? So these two positions are competing with each other. Will you be able to really behave as a judge alone, sidelining all the biases of a father, mother, brother or sister? Will you be able to solve the case as per merit and give a verdict against your own daughter? The answer is perhaps no. Election in a Naxal prone area. Now here in a Naxal prone area, the success mantra or way forward is to undertake developmental projects. What will happen as a result of undertaking these developmental projects? You will get a lot of votes. So you are actually using it as a vote bank. Now moving on, one recent example of conflict of interest is that of Mary Kom. She was in the selection panel of Dronacharya Award. Champion boxer MC Mary Kom, she recused herself from the Dronacharya Award selection panel to avoid potential conflict of interest because Chote Lal Yadav, who was her personal coach, he was also in the competition. So to avoid any personal bias, she recused herself from the panel because she was playing two roles. She was being coached by Chote Lal Yadav. At the same time, she is also a panel member. Is it really possible for her to become a panel member alone and not having any influence of this particular thing? She might come under some personal bias. She might become a little emotional and select Chote Lal Yadav. So to avoid all these situations, it is better that you recuse yourself from taking such harsh decisions and you give that responsibility to any other person who can take a neutral decision based on merit and objective parameters. Moving on, now conflict of interest is unavoidable, but how do you resolve it? Like I said, be playing multiple roles at the same time. When you play multiple roles, it is obvious that one role will influence the other. We are lesser mortals, we are human beings. We cannot be in silos, we cannot be in isolation. The day we start behaving in such an idealistic way, we'll become God. That is not possible. So the current situation is that it is very obvious that when we are playing multiple roles, then one role will definitely influence the other roles. Try to avoid the conflicts of interest, transferring the responsibility if possible. That is the best way. So as soon as you sense a situation of conflict of interest, for example, the DC or SDM example that we discussed, the moment you come to know that you are in such a situation, you know that your younger sibling is in a road construction company and there might be a conflict of interest arising, right? The moment you realize this, you do a voluntary disclosure. You tell it to the others that this decision I will not be able to take. I'll recuse myself from this situation. I'm voluntarily disclosing this situation that is going to arise, and so someone else may be given the responsibility to decide based on objective parameters. Making a voluntary disclosure, the moment you sense that there is such a thing arising, you make a voluntary disclosure. Restrictions on my involvement, don't keep yourself involved. You transfer the responsibility to some person who is equally capable of making a decision, and making the decision in a objective manner is also very essential. Third party observation, like if you transfer the case, if you transfer the decision to any third party, then they will be able to decide in a more objective manner based on merit, taking the decision in public interest and not violating the laws. So that's all in conflict of interest. We have tried to understand what the concept means. We have also elaborated using some of the examples. Please make a note of these examples, and we'll continue with the next module, module 4. Thank you.